You see this, 5.34%, the 30-year Treasury yield, highest since 2007. I was supposed to be upstairs making another catastrophic romantic decision, and instead I'm watching Washington discover duration risk. Fantastic. National debt is past 40 trillion. Long rates are screaming, and Treasury doubles long bond buybacks to roughly 4 billion per operation. 4 billion. Cute. My second divorce had tighter liquidity. Treasury isn't paying down debt. It sells short-term bills and uses the cash to buy back long bonds. The debt doesn't disappear. It changes shape. Less long stuff, more short stuff. Chad calls it balance sheet optimization. Chad also drinks algae water and has the upper body strength of a hotel bathrobe, so I discounted his analysis. Why now? Because old cheap debt keeps maturing into a world where money costs something again. Apparently Washington finds this offensive. They borrowed for 15 years like a divorced hedge fund manager with room service, and now they're shocked by the bill. At one operation, holders offered roughly 20 billion of bonds. Treasury bought 4 billion. 20 offered, 4 taken. That's a room full of people trying to leave while Treasury stands at the door saying, "We'll take 5. People call this Operation Twist. Fine. In 2011, the Fed sold shorter treasuries and bought longer ones. But here's the difference. The Fed can create reserves. Treasury cannot. Treasury has to borrow the money. That's the difference between the casino printing chips and me borrowing from the guy at Baccarat. Both extend the evening. Only one ends with my lawyer calling it breakfast. So yes, Treasury can relieve pressure at the long end. But don't tell me the fiscal problem went to rehab. It changed jackets. That's all. Some call this soft yield curve control. Nobody officially declared 5.3% illegal. But if yields hit 5.3 and Treasury gets aggressive, traders notice. Then the market asks one question. Is 5.3 the pain threshold? Because once traders discover your pain threshold, you don't have a policy anymore. You have a target. Did it work? For about as long as my third marriage. Yields fell, everyone celebrated, then the move disappeared. Treasury says it has a big toolkit. Wonderful. My ex-wife had a big toolkit too. It was called Discovery. A 4 billion buyback sounds enormous until you put it beside trillion-dollar deficits. Then it looks like tipping the valet during a leveraged buyout. This is fiscal dominance. Deficits require more debt. More debt pressures yields. Higher yields increase interest expense. Higher interest expense worsens deficits. Then Treasury issues more debt. It's a snake eating its own tail while issuing quarterly guidance, and people wonder why I drink. Every cheap Treasury eventually matures and gets refinanced at today's rates. The pain seeps in slowly, like alimony indexed to CPI. And no, this isn't QE. The Fed isn't buying. Treasury is. What's more interesting is that the long end applied pressure and Treasury responded. Now the market knows they're watching. Traders will push again. That's what markets do. So I care about 3 things. Does 4 billion become 6 billion? Does the 30-year stay below 5.3? Do foreign buyers return? The long bond isn't predicting the apocalypse. Calm down. I have 3 ex-wives. I know what an apocalypse looks like. It's saying debt supply matters again. Inflation matters. Term premium matters. Fiscal credibility matters. And around 5.3%, somebody in Washington starts sweating through an expensive shirt. That's information. I trade information. Chad backtests it. That's why Chad flies economy. Put another tequila on the room. Actually, put it on Treasury's tab. They're already borrowing. The long bond isn't broken. It's sending an invoice. Washington just doesn't like the amount.